Hello, if you've just joined us, I'm just going to wait a minute just to see if we have anybody else into our waiting room. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are here today to talk to you about maths through our EYC during this parent workshop. So my name is Kyle Meadows, for those of you that do not know me. I am lower school maths lead here at Harrow Bangkok, and I'm joined this afternoon by Ellie Pate, Jordan Hunt, and Rebecca Campbell, who join me on the maths team, and we lead and coordinate everything maths here in lower school. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box, or there'll be an opportunity at the end to direct any questions our way. So the aims of what we want to talk to you about today are what your children learn at school here in EYC. We're going to discuss numbers up to 20 and talk a little bit about how we teach that in EYC. We are going to talk about number sense and why that is important. And we're going to touch upon some real life maths, and we're going to think about how, as parents and as families, you can help teach maths and help incorporate maths into your everyday experiences at home. And so the EYC maths curriculum is broken down into how you can see here. We have number, shape, space, and measure. And we also have daily mental math sessions. We have a real focus on number, and we're going to talk to you a little bit more about some of these skills that we aim to develop within our EYC curriculum. Now, these skills are taught in various ways. Some of this is done via direct teaching during carpet time, and some of this is done during our provision and through play, and by encouraging the children to speak with adults, speak with other children, and investigate and really get involved with their environment in their classrooms. Now, if we think about number more specifically, that can be broken down into place value, counting, and addition and subtraction. And within this, there's an area called supertizing as well, which we're going to talk to you more about today, which may be a new word for some people, but it's a key skill which can really help children with their maths, and it's something that everybody can be working on at home as well. Now I'm going to hand you over to Jordan Hunt, who is on the maths team, who's going to talk to you a little bit about observing and about sorting.
Okay, thank you for that. So observing. So a really key skill that you can do with your children that will help them develop mathematically is to talk to them about what you see. And when you're giving them a running commentary on the things that you see throughout the day, it can help modeling that skill of noticing things, which is really key in developing those foundational math skills. So children are naturally curious, and they want to talk to us about what they see. So it's you giving those examples about saying what you can see and things like that. For example, saying, look. So just the image that we've got here, you can say, look, I can see a path. It's got different shaped stones. Some are long, some are round. And automatically there, you're bringing in that language that is comparing them, but also letting them be naturally curious and observing. So developing those skills of observing is all about looking for details. And again, that helps build the knowledge that our children need as learners and as mathematicians. And it's also a very good example of the flexible thinking that our children need. So when they're approaching those mathematical, more complicated concepts, they're going to be naturally curious and they're going to want to observe things and see things. Another thing that is really crucial at an early stage is sorting, and giving the children opportunity to sort objects and to be able to compare them and see those similarities and seeing the differences. So by comparing, they have to decide if an object has more or less of something. So straight away, that's building into those key mathematical concepts where they can see that something is either bigger or smaller. Do I have more red bricks? Do I have less green bricks? So straight away, it's touching on those early key math skills. And by classifying and sorting, it helps them to develop a range of thinking skills that, again, help them with problem solving later on in maths. So encouraging your child and your children to sort objects however they want. And remembering that there is no right or wrong way of doing this. It's not setting it a task. It really is open-ended and quite exploratory. So it's about saying, okay, let's sort these objects and letting them lead that and see, do they sort them from biggest to smallest? And then having that conversation with them about what they've done. And they'll often, you'll find, notice different things to us as well. Because we're much older, we may say, okay, from biggest to smallest, but they may sort them in a different way. It might be by patterns or something like that. And it's encouraging that mathematical talk through these little tasks that really helps build those skills. Thank you.
Thank you. So within the EYC curriculum, we have a focus on numbers up to 20. Now, we want our children to know the numbers up to 20, count up to numbers up to 20 and beyond that as well as crossing the bridges of 19, 20, 29 and 30. Now, counting and rote counting is perfectly fine. So for children become familiar with that structure, and we do encourage you to do so at home as well. But as well as rote counting, we want our children at Harrow Bangkok to have a real deep understanding, firstly, of the numbers 1 to 5, and then of the numbers 6 to 10. And when we talk about a deep understanding, we are talking about the children having the ability to investigate, play, explore with some of these numbers. Now you'll be able to see on the screen, I've shown you two numbers here, 1 and 2. And for each number, I've got 5 different representations for that number. So for the number 1, we can show it on a dice, we can show it on a stick, we can show it with a counter, we can show it using our fingers or a thumb. And we can do the same for number 2. And we can encourage children to investigate how these numbers are put together and what these numbers look like in our environment. Because we want children to make links between different ideas between these numbers and relate them to real life situations. And we also want children to think critically about a number. So if we see 5, is 5 always the same? How is 5 made up? It's made of 3 and 2. It's made up of 1 and 4. We want children to have a real good and deep understanding of these concepts before they progress onto bigger numbers. This is really going to help with their attainment and their achievement as they progress into older years and move into pre-prep. So also going to help with their addition and subtraction skills later on in the EYC curriculum. Now, when we talk about counting, and I mentioned rote counting previously, rote counting is saying numbers in number order, but not linked to an object. So that could just be sat at home and encouraging children to count from 1 to 10. But as well as rote counting, there are other elements to counting as well. We can think about one-to-one correspondence. So that is when children have objects to count. So they may have 5 counters and counting those objects one-to-one. Subitizing, which we're going to talk to you more about today, which is looking at a number and then knowing how many without the need to count. Numeral meaning, which is linking the number with the symbol. For example, on my screen, you can see the number 5, and above that, you can see here, I'm showing you 5 fingers on my hand. And also knowing that the last number counted is the total amount. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've just counted 5 fingers.
Okay, so I'm going to speak to you a little bit about flexible thinking. So often when we say a child knows their numbers, we mean that they know the names of the numbers and the order that they go up in. But as Cal's mentioned, we really want to deepen that understanding. So when a child is looking at a number, we want them to know it can be represented in a different way, and 5 is always 5, even when it's represented differently. So looking at those examples, that 5 on the whiteboard is also the 5 cars that you might be playing with. It's also the 5 birds that you might see out in the branch. And by making those links, the children have a deeper understanding and are really able to internalize that number. So to help children understand more, we can do that in the classroom, but also in everyday life. So just on the next slide there, we'll see that numbers are everywhere, okay? And it's so important that when you're out and about to make those explicit links and bring that relevance and what we look at in numbers in the classroom to their everyday life when they're out and about. Because numbers are everywhere in our environment. And here on the screen, you can see a few examples of this. So by making those links and connections, children might look at the elevator example and they might say, oh, I can see the numbers are going up in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can have that conversation with them about, yes, the numbers are going in order. And also, every time we get to the next number, it gets higher and it gets bigger. And the children can start making those links and it becomes more relevant to them. Thank you. I think I'm handing over to Miss Pia.
Hello, it's Miss Ellie here. Hello. Nice to see you. I know some of you are there. So just carrying on from what Jordan was saying about sorting and comparing. Comparing is another great skill that we want the children to embrace, and by using real life objects in everyday situations. These can be meal times. Our snack time is a brilliant time for to help with our maths, with our language, with our thinking. Every day we're just those questions, talking about who's got more milk, or if their cup is full or empty, or that kind of thing. The children love measuring, so measuring each other, comparing themselves to other children, also comparing themselves to, going up and standing by a tree and looking up and having that real experience. So being able to see that the tree is, much taller than them, and also doing it with their friends, doing it in the class, with doors. It's tricky when they're doing it with their friends because they can't see each other, but the other children can. Going and getting into a box and sort of comparing themselves to that with the space. And meal times is fantastic. And using food, we have one of our bowls here. You could be talking at the dinner table about who's got more, who's got less. We use it in provision with water, with rice, everything. And it's something that can be used throughout. And then the more technical language, like long, starting with long and then something being longer, or who's got the longest, is again something that we're modeling, dropping in all the time as we're, I wonder which is the longest stick, or who has got the longest stick. And that happens every day as well. And the next slide is about estimating, which is again is a great skill to build on, and it helps with their number sense as well. Now, estimating means it's not always exactly accurate. It's taking a guess, using their thinking skills, and it's okay that it's not the exact answer. Sometimes in maths, the children are, trying to give us the right answer. Sometimes we're looking for that right answer. Sometimes it's about noticing and sorting. And with estimating, again, it's like, what do you think? And so we're modeling that as well. Here we've got higher numbers of things, which we may not be able to instantly see or subitize. We might have, I wonder, is that 5 or is it 6? And then you could check, let's check together. So again, a skill which particularly in reception they do, but I do it in nursery as well. Thank you, Kyle. And as we talk about number sense, I think the first and key element for us, and it does continue throughout the year groups, but from toddlers all the way up to reception, we are all using number rhymes and songs, and this is such a great way to introduce number problems, addition, subtraction to children. And they're using their fingers as a resource to represent number. They're able to subitize with their fingers. So when we are, they can show me their understanding on the carpet when I can say, and how many was that left? Show me your fingers. They're using the language of less and more. And in a fun, practical way, they are learning. They are starting the foundations for subtraction and addition. So moving on to addition, again, it needs to be fun, it needs to be practical, and it needs to be visual first. Before they can instantly tell you that 5 plus 2 is 7, they need to work with practical objects, and it doesn't just have to be counting bears, it could be anything. So it can be giving out, plates at snack time, it could be natural objects, it could be their toys, and using real objects first will help them visualize, and then they may move on to the pictorial side. So they could be drawing it out themselves, like in some of these pictures where they've drawn the dots, and that will be a key focus. And again, some subitizing is going on there. They might use Numicon. Someone's drawn some Numicon there as well, which is fantastic. And that's something we build on and on and on. Number lines here, that's also a great way to help them visualize how to count on or how to count back. And as we build that up in fun, practical ways, it will help them and eventually be able to do it instantly in their head. Same with subtraction. We do it in lots of different fun ways. The counting songs, using their fingers, the words less and fewer, and using real life objects. We have lots of jokes in snack time in my class about, things all being gone and how many were left and what do we start with, and that's where the key maths is happening most of the time during our everyday interactions. And games as well. Games are a fantastic way. So here you can see a picture using the bean bags, using the hoop. It might even just be part of that. Someone's trying to get the bean bags into the hoop. That's the idea of the game, but they've missed it. So then you seize on that opportunity. Oh, well, how many did you get in, and how many were in total, and how many didn't get in? So it's just seizing on those opportunities. Thank you, Carl. And then the next stage of this would be our number bonds, which would be knowing how to get to sort of 0 to 5 in different ways. So, 1 plus 4 makes 5, but what else makes 5? How else can you show me? And to get to that stage, it's all about, as the others have talked about, knowing those numbers so well, so inside out, knowing what 5 is made from, knowing that, if they hold up their fingers, it's that, or if they hold up their fingers, it's that as well. And we can see that happening. I've seen amazing work in reception recently with that already, because they have slowed things down and they're really focusing on knowing those numbers. And so when it comes to the next stage, sort of later stage of reception of number bonds, a lot of that is already going to be there. Those foundations are there, and then they can begin to instantly recall it. But it's also really important that they're using their questioning and thinking skills so that they can tell us and tell you other ways, and why and how. That's those questioning skills. And then the next thing on that, I think, Carl, I'm not sure if it's there, it was about number formation, just before we move on. The children are always keen to write their numbers, and that's fantastic. And we, of course, we encourage that too. We've got lots of opportunities for that. But if they don't know what that number means, then it's irrelevant. They need to know what that number means and it's made up of before they learn to write it. So don't worry too much if you're thinking they need to be able to write the numbers, because the main thing is they need to know what it means first. Okay,
and I'm going to talk a little bit about time as well now. And time is a fantastic learning opportunity at home, because there's so much language that we use throughout the day associated with time, and so much language that we can use with the children. And it really is just about talking to the children all of the time about time. So using the language such as this morning, this afternoon, at nighttime, but then also using different language. So like, what are we having? What did you do at breakfast? What are you going to have at lunch? So not just talking about the time in the moment, but also talking about what did we do yesterday? What are you going to be doing tomorrow? What are you looking forward to tomorrow at school? And then just making sure that the children from that early stage are starting to develop that awareness of time and that awareness of when tomorrow, so they'll realize that tomorrow is a later time, and introducing the days of the week. So tomorrow is going to be Friday. What are you going to be doing on Friday? Well, Friday is tomorrow. Yesterday was Thursday. This morning I did this. How long until we do something? So just using all of those opportunities to let the children to hear that language, because the more they hear that language and are involved in those conversations about time, the more they're going to start to develop that understanding. And again, as they get further up through the school, that's really going to help them when they're then learning, actually when it gets quite complex, when we're talking about how many hours in the day, how many hours are in a week, how many days in the months, of things like that. So these really early stages are crucial to get the children to have that understanding to build on later. And now I think I'm passing on to Miss Ellie.
Thanks. Can you hear me? The next thing we're going to look at are patterns. Patterns are everywhere, and again, linking to our noticing and our observing skills. And it's really key because patterns is a key element of our curriculum as well. And again, going back to our key question that we use all day, every day, what do you see? Which is an open-ended question as well, which is really important. There isn't always a right answer, as we said, and it's giving them the opportunity to express what they do see. And again, it might be different to what I see. Pointing these patterns out. It could be the gates as you're driving home. It could be a pattern on the road. It could be a pattern on a plant, on a fish. We've been looking at fish in my class this week and talking about all the different patterns and comparing them, pointing out the differences and the similarities, asking the children why is such a big question as well. Noticing that today I've got a pattern on my shirt and Miss Bunn also had animal print on her shirt. So those kind of things, again, using our everyday experiences to help their maths language and help their maths knowledge. And similar with shapes. Shapes are all around us. So look for them, as I'm always saying to the children, look for them, describe them. Shapes are everywhere, and it's lovely when they're telling me, oh, look, my apple or my orange I can see a circle, and comparing with their everyday objects. So it's not just about showing them a shape or you showing them a shape. What shape is it? It's about relating it to the bigger world, the outside world, and comparing, and also using the language of, it's like a pointy one, like a triangle, and helping them sort of be able to describe the elements of the different shapes and why and how do you know. So how do you know it's a square? Because it's got four sides that are all the same. It's that getting that reasoning from them, which we are constantly trying to encourage. And they love it. They love to go for shape hunts. So shape hunts at home, shape hunts in the garden, shape hunts on the walk to school is lots of fun. And games, of course, lots of fun as well. Playing games develops number sense and maths language, and it's fun. We made up our own game today here when they were playing with pom-poms, and then we kind of turned it into a bit of a game where then I might have to do a bit of a tally as to how far someone had thrown something, or how many, and they loved it. So it could be games that you're making up. It could be card games like Snap, memory games, fantastic dominoes. We all have dominoes here, which are great because not only does it help them subitize and recognize those numbers, but it's sorting them, finding things that are the same. We use huge dice in the classroom. Any game with dice is fantastic again for subitizing, or it could just be making up your own game. So throwing the dice and saying, okay, what can you see? I can see 3, clap 3 times, or go and do a jog, run around the house 3 times. anything like that. And then snakes and ladders is one that maybe might be more reception sort of level, which again, fun, those classic games, but making up your own as well. And I think we're moving on to Rebecca.
Yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about prepositional language, and it is so important. It's all about saying and doing and making those links that we've been talking about, because that will really help the children's understanding. So if they've got the box and the teddy bear and they see you possibly going, oh, the teddy bear is inside the box. And then, or could you put the teddy bear inside the box? And then the children can actually physically do this as they're saying it. And that really helps them to understand what they're saying and what that actually means. Now, initially, that will be with objects. It might be out in a park. You might say the swing is beside the slide. Can you go there? Can you see where the hopscotch is? And you'll be able to then, they might say to you, well, it's in front of the slide. So initially it might be about objects, everyday life moments, and it's about making it relevant to the children. But then that will turn and make links to numbers. And then as time progresses, they'll be able to use that language with a really deep understanding and apply it to numbers, which will be really, really important as well. And I think I'm handing back there to Mr. Meadows.
Yes. So we've heard so much today about the importance of language and questioning and asking our children why, and asking them to explain and tell us what they can see and what they can spot. And this is going to develop a real deep understanding of number. And that's what we want to develop with our EYC pupils. Now, our children can do this in English and Thai to strengthen that understanding of number and of language. And we would encourage them to do so, both at home and here at school. And as we've all said, it's fundamental to talk and do that out and about wherever you can see all those examples of spotting shapes, spotting patterns, looking for numbers in the environment, in real life. It's going to provide real context for our children. So when we're talking about the number 5, they'll have such a great understanding of what the number 5 is, because they will have seen it and talked about it in so many different ways, and using all those real life examples which we have discussed today. And one thing that we think is really, really important here at Harrow Bangkok is developing a positive mindset for our children in maths. It's important that children enjoy to be challenged. They develop that positive mindset towards maths. We don't want children to be afraid of making mistakes, because that's part of life. We all make mistakes within our learning. We want our children to feel confident, to have a go, to answer a question, even if they're not quite sure, because they know that they're going to be encouraged and we're going to help them to develop the right answer. We're going to help them to get, but we want them to have that mindset of that maths isn't scary, that maths is fun. And actually sometimes, as Miss Ellis said, there's not always the right answer. Sometimes what we are looking for is we're just looking for what you think or what you can see. We also talk a lot about I see, I think, I wonder in school, just to develop that questioning and get the children to really discuss, actually, I think this, or I'm wondering this about what they've seen in the environment. And one thing we do know is that we can all learn from one another. So we're all part of a big team and we can all help each other to succeed, and we all can do well at maths. And that's really, really important. Now, I hope that throughout this presentation that we've put the message across that what we want our children to have is a very deep understanding of number. First of all, from 0 to 5. And that starts with our youngest children at 18 months through to reception in EYC. We spoke about number bonds as well, but that's going to come a little bit later in the curriculum towards in reception and moving into year 1 as well. That is everything that we've got to talk to you about today. I hope that you found this presentation informative. If you've got any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box, or please feel free to stick around for a few moments and we can answer any of your questions. Big thank you to Miss Ellie, to Mr. Hunt, and to Miss time this evening to help them with the presentation as well. And thank you everybody for giving up your time and joining us this Thursday afternoon It's been a pleasure. It's my favourite thing to talk about maths. So I've had a great time. And yeah, like I said, please feel free to ask us any questions, or you can catch us at any time in school as well. And have a lovely evening, everybody. Thank you.